All right. Welcome to the Career Nuggets podcast channel hosted by Asmarandhany. The show is all about career lessons from accomplished individuals. So listeners can avoid making the same mistakes in their career and learn from the best. Today is a very special day because I have the opportunity to sit down with Ibu Ranjana Singh. So Ibu Ranjana is the chairwoman of WPP Indonesia and Vietnam. So for me to be able to be speaking with a leader like you is really an honor. Welcome to the show, Ibu.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's lovely to be able to chat with you and your audiences.
All right. So the topic for today is about female leadership. And I'm sure we're going to learn a lot from Ibu Ranjana today. And we're also going to talk about the fun stuff, which we're going to talk about Stream, an event. Actually, it's a conference, but with the tagline of unconference. It's very unusual. And which is also named by Wired magazine as one of the best world's best tech conferences. So this episode is not only going to be insightful, but it's also going to be fun. All right. So to kickstart with this episode, Ibu, for listeners who are not familiar yet with your work, can you just share us a little bit about yourself, your work, and what your passion?
Okay. So I work for WPP, which is the world's largest communications agency, which is a very broad term because we have over 200 companies. It is advertising, traditional advertising, media, it is digital, it is PR, it is branding, it's insights, it's user experience, anything that allows a brand or a client to communicate with their consumers. How do we help them do that in order for their brands to become stronger and well-positioned in the marketplace? So that's WPP. I've been with them my entire career in one form or the other. But really, I started out in media, and this was in India, and then moved to Indonesia in 1993 with what was at that time JWT and is now Wunderman Thompson. And post that, got into general management, then was with Mindshare when we started the first media specialist agency in Indonesia, which was focused just on media, buying, planning, etc., and which is now part of the Group M network. And all these fall under the WPP umbrella, which is the holding company. And I took on the role as country manager of WPP in 2012. So that's what I do. A wonderful place to be in, a very exciting but constantly changing career environment. And it's been a wonderful experience.
Okay, all right, wonderful. So Ibu, on the topic of female leadership, there's a conception that leadership associates to assertiveness, decisiveness, strong, competent, right? Unfortunately, if those qualities are displayed by women, people tend to think that these women are not likable because likable usually means attractive, agreeable. Do you think that's true?
Well, it depends whose perspective it is from. So are we saying that men find those characteristics of agreeable, soft, are going with the flow, attractive? I don't know. I think the very confident and aware men also like women who are strong in their own way. And strong is not a negative. It's not about shouting. It's not about banging your fist. It's not about always being combative. Strong is something more about inner strength, I think. And confident men and women don't see that as a negative. So I think these are just labels that we assign. And some people use them negatively, whereas all of them, whether it's for a man or a woman, are actually very strong labels. So it's the context in which it is used and who uses them. But why do we feel that women shouldn't be this or that men can't be soft? Both sides is equally true. I think Men who are soft, who are agreeable, who are open, who are aware, are actually very attractive and strong human beings. So the opposite can also be true with the males.
Interesting. Ibu, what about yourself, right? Because you're a female leader yourself. And as we talked about earlier, the industries are very competitive, right? For you to be able to stay consistent throughout the years and to be here leading, companies, right? How does it feel for you? And like, can you share a little bit like your journey?
So personally, and I'm speaking only for myself, I said that also sometimes when asked the question, I didn't see myself as being a female leader or anything like that. I just wanted to be true to what I am. I wanted to be the best or try my best to do whatever I do, whether it's career or in my personal life. And I've always maintained that if you're honest, true to yourself, you can achieve things sometimes more than what you wished for, wanted, or thought you'd get. So if you're true to yourself, if you're honest with yourself and people around you, if you mean well and you work very hard, I mean, there's no getting away from hard work, you will achieve whatever you want to achieve, not what someone else thinks you should be, but whatever you think you want to achieve. And then to feel a sense of pride as in I've done something, I've made a difference, I've touched someone else's lives. And then you feel good about yourself, I think.
I see. So what you're saying is basically, it doesn't really mean the gender, like whether it's a female or male leaders, it doesn't really matter as long as you're willing to put in the hard work and you be proud of what you have accomplished. Then staying true to yourself, that's your experience, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And again, when you're true to yourself, when you care about people you work with, you build teams, you build colleagues, you build trust. No one achieves much if they just do it themselves. You achieve more than what you think or hope for when you work together as a team, when you carry people with you and everyone in the team is successful. So I think there are very few careers that are just about individuals. I work hard, I'll do well, I'll be acknowledged. For a lot of us, I think people do well when they are part of a team, when they build a strong team and the whole team moves forward. That's where I think success is the best and the sweetest.
So you were saying that it doesn't really matter, right, whether you're male or female, as long as you put in the work. What about those female, because for me personally, right, I've had been in a situation where I felt a little bit intimidated with my colleagues, the male colleagues, and it's very difficult for me to come out of that perspective, sometimes, because I don't know, I feel like the society sometimes favor the male leaders more. And I also received some feedback that I'm a bit too aggressive, wherein in terms of performance, actually, we're very similar. And in terms of decisiveness, we're actually very similar. And I'm sure I'm not alone in this. So what would you tell these female leaders to combat their the feeling of intimidation?
I think intimidation is something that comes internally from yourself. Because women are, sadly, and I'm generalizing here, conditioned over time, conditioned by society, conditioned by their family sometimes. You are a woman and therefore you have to be different. You have to behave in a different way from, let's say, your brother. So that's conditioning we come from, which is very, very slowly, I hope, changing over time. But because you come from that conditioning, you tend to react to any stimulus. So, for example, why did you feel intimidated? Was it a man who was doing it, or was it a woman? And sometimes women also will say things like that. It could be a female HR person, where we just do things in the same old way without questioning it and not looking at things with a new lens. So my only advice is, if you have done your best, but you're also open to listening. I mean, all of us are not perfect, right? As long as it's positive feedback that allows you to grow and do more, of course you take that in. But if you think it's been given to you because you're a woman, I think it's absolute nonsense, and it should be not combated, but it should be rationally explained and argued so that the other person gets your point of view. Fortunately, at least in large urban cities with women who are well educated, with companies who are aware but also becoming aware, the conversation at least has started, which 20 years ago, no one talked about it. No one talked about equality. No one talked about increasing the number or percentage of women in the workplace. No one talked about the Me Too movement. No one talked about issues of, how you treat your fellow colleagues. No one talked about bullying in the workplace. Those are being talked about now. And I think that's absolutely wonderful, because that allows you to take up those issues and then expect that the company in return will take it seriously. If there are companies who don't do that, I think it's shocking. And then I would advise anyone, youngster, whether it's male or female, don't work for a company that doesn't respect your individual rights, whatever they may be. Yes, maybe women still face it more than men or other minority communities. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect in the workplace. And if an organization doesn't do it, my only advice is walk away from them.
All right. Okay, listeners. So listen to that carefully. If your company doesn't respect women and equalities, then you actually have the right to walk away. All right. Wonderful. That was very eye-opening, and I'm sure listeners can really appreciate the insights that you shared with us also. Now we're moving to the fun stuff, Ibu.
I love it.
All right. So Stream is an event that I recently attended to. And as a former version of Stream event, because that was the first time I was invited, I was blown away by the energy of people who came. I made a lot of new connections, which was great. I met a lot of exciting and interesting people. So Ibu, for those who are not familiar yet with WPP Stream event, can you share a little bit about the concept of it, and why is it called Unconference?
This was started quite a few years ago. I don't know exactly, but let's say 15 years ago, by WPP. And we had another friend stroke partner of WPP, Yossi Vadi, from the tech industry and a big name in tech in Israel. And they started this. And I think it's a brilliant idea even today, so many years later, when the world is constantly changing. There are so many conferences. We are all tired of hearing about them, attending them. Some are wonderful, some are just another conference. But a conference typically tends to have a format. You invite people, some are paid for, some are otherwise. There's an agenda, there are speakers, you go there, you hear them. Sometimes you can get to ask questions. Of course, you can still network. Stream was supposed to be, I suppose, like the name implies, it's a flowing thing. It's a two-way thing. There's no fixed agenda. There's nothing that you are expected to say, do, or behave. You don't know what's going to happen. So the way the stream Indonesia that you attended, which was the 9th stream that we had for Indonesia, and we have it in different parts of the world, it is the unconference, so it's not a conference, for unconventional thinkers. And I'll just explain both the terms. So unconferences, it's not a regular conference. So don't expect to come and see what you normally experience in a conference. So that's the unconference bit. And unconventional is, we don't invite, for example, let's have all the senior people from companies, or, people must be of a certain number of years of experience or seniority or a discipline. So the real agenda stream is to get unconventional, passionate, open-minded people all together. And each of us experiences, as you probably did, stream in a very different way, because what you come with, what you put into those 2 days that you're there, every individual does it differently. And then you take out of it what you want. The way I take it out after all these years is you have creativity, you have technology, you have data, and you have amazing people. When you mix them together, put them together as we try and do for 2 days, at the end of it, you get magic. Magic in whatever way you want to experience magic. So very simply, it is what we start with is it's by invitation only. So we don't charge our clients or attendees for it. It is thanks to the sponsors, our wonderful sponsors, that we are able to have stream. It's very conscious. It seems very casual, but the team, and you've met the team, they're absolutely the most fabulous team anyone can expect, have put in a lot of hard work. So what we say is 1/3 of the attendees will be from WPP companies, whether from Indonesia, Singapore, Vietnam, or for UK, and we had some from different countries. 1/3 from our agencies, 1/3 will be our clients. And again, in clients, it's not the CEOs and MDs. So it could be the CEO of a company, but it could be a digital head of something. It could be a brand manager somewhere. And that's the second third part of it. The last part is from the industry. So what do we mean by industry? Creative people like you, people who are passionate, people who started something new, who want to start something new, who are in any way linked to the technology or the creative industry, whether you're in filmmaking or you're in podcasting or you're an influencer. Again, the age, years of experience don't matter. So we invite 1/3 from there. We try very hard, going back to the first part of our discussion, let's try and get equal representation from both the men and the women. So in an ideal world, we'd like 50% women, and we try. The team works very hard. I think this time we were probably a little over 45%, which is fantastic. So that's the second thing we look for. And then we say, look for people who are open-minded, who want to come and connect, who want to learn. So when we start stream, we say there are no right or wrong answers. There are no stupid questions. Discuss. It's a very safe environment because we don't record. We don't report and say, Ranjana from this company said that she doesn't like blah platform. It's never attributed. Then what we do is there's no agenda. It's discussion. So you volunteer and say, I'd like to lead a discussion on where equality in the workplace should be, or is it there, or is it not going there? You pitch it to the audience of 300 people. At the same time, there are 6 discussions going on at stream. It's up to the audience to decide, should they go to yours or should they go to someone else who's having a discussion on ethics in AI or something else. So it really is up to the audience to choose. Do they lead a discussion, which means they participate? It's not PowerPoints. It's not selling your organization. What do you think? I experienced this. Is there a better idea? Can we do it differently? And you found everyone does participate. So that's the beauty of the unconference that is Stream, where you come in, you don't know what to expect. Then you make amazing connections like you did. And you take back something, and the magic may not happen at Stream, but you go back and say, oh my God, someone mentioned this. I can apply it like this. So in this Stream, without sort of giving away names, there was a client who was talking to a coffee doctor. I mean, I can tell you that he was actually a doctor of coffee in Indonesia.
Oh, wow.
And I asked the client, I said, oh, you seem to be enjoying the discussion. And he's from FMCG. And he said, my God, I've learned so much about coffee. Now I'm already going to work with him and saying, how can I use coffee in some of the traditionally unrelated products that my company makes? And I'm like, wow, see where the connection was made just out of the blue. So that's really the magic of Stream.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think I totally can relate to that story. And the team I think, definitely did an amazing job, because even it was my first event of Stream, like it was my first time to go there. And in the beginning, I was there alone, right? I was there alone. I didn't come with like any of my colleagues or whatnot. I literally went there alone. And it was like a bit daunting at first, because everyone was coming with their own colleagues, right? But then the event started, and then all these discussions were held. And I was just so blown away by how people were so open-minded, and everyone wanted to contribute equally. And it's just like very different perspectives in one discussion. And for me to be able to pick, whatever discussion that interests me, and I can just join whatever I want. That was really amazing. And I met a lot of people, and I met no one that I met was not open-minded. Like, they're all welcome. And they wanted to chat, and they didn't really ask you or like judge you where you're from, or, they were very open-minded. And I made actually really interesting connection until now. I already have like some plans on collaboration. So that's awesome. Thanks to Stream.
Yes, it is wonderful. And no, I'm just a little upset that you said you were alone, because one of the things we tell all our people, no one should ever be alone, because like you, there are others who come in alone, who don't know anyone. It's like you have to make them welcome. You have to connect them to other people. So I hope you weren't alone for too long.
No, it was just the beginning before it started. So I went there and I had lunch alone, because this is my first time. I don't know, what I should do. But as soon as the conference, or not the conference, as soon as the event started and the discussions were held, and then I started talking to people, next to me, and then I contributed to the discussion. And after the discussion, they would come up to me and say like, oh, that was a good point, and then that became like a conversation starter. Yeah.
No, it's wonderful. The communities we build across disciplines, across companies, we put away our day-to-day, and just get excited in the moment.
Ibu, it's really, really amazing to talk to you. Thank you so much for making the time for the podcast. I really appreciate it. And to wrap up this episode, Ibu, could you share one wisdom for the aspiring female leaders out there who are listening?
So I have a daughter who's probably older than you. I mean, I have a son also. And like I said, I never think of it as just for the female leaders or the male. I think it's for all youngsters today. One of the key things I tell them, there's a very old song, very few of you will remember. It's if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. Okay, so this was, I'm sure, in the 60s and the hippie days, but I say that about working. Try and find or do what you love, but all of us can't find and do what we love. As I say, someone has to clean the streets. Someone has to throw the garbage, right? Now, will any of them say, I love throwing garbage? No. But then you start loving what you do. Make a difference and say, I keep this place clean. I'm responsible for people's health and hygiene. So start loving what you do. And if you really can't, leave and then try again. But you must enjoy whatever you do and stay true to that.